Hey y'all, what's up? It is me, Shaniqua, the Master Brand Story Coach, and I am here to talk to you today about facades. Now, as you guys know, I am a teacher in Fulton County high schools, and today we were talking about facades. Like, what is it that you portray to people, and what is really the truth? And so we were reading a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar called We Wear the Masks, in which he talks about how black people during the time of slavery were smiling and laughing, but really they did that to appease the people who were over them so that they could hide their own pain and suffering. And so this week, we also showed students a video on the signs of suicide to help get their friends to find some help. And so they just really went well together, the poem that I had planned as well as the thing that the county planned for the students, because as a teenager, I don't know if you remember that time, but that was definitely a time in which you weren't more than likely living as authentically as you could because you were still discovering who you were. And I'm going to tell you that for myself, that journey lasted all the way until I was in that ambulance when I was 39 years old, just last fall. It's almost been a year. And so I thought that would be a particularly interesting thing to talk about today is facades, especially here in this entrepreneurial space, especially here among people who want to write their own books, to tell their own stories, to live life authentically, not just as a cliche tagline, but as the truth. Like, one of the things that I despaired about, and I'm using that word, though it's strong, to really represent how I felt over the last year, was that I was not living authentically. At the end of the year, before I ended up in the hospital, and then when I got out, my question was, who am I? It literally was my question. I was 39 years old, having a crisis, and it wasn't a midlife crisis. It was an a life crisis, period. It wasn't the fact that I was turning 40. It was the fact that I was done living a life for other people. I was done living a life where I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I was done living a life that was safe and keeping my ship in the harbor instead of exploring the world as I wanted to do. And it really bothered me that at the age of 39 at the time, I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what my voice was. I had been in the entrepreneurial space for 3 years at that time, and I still hadn't found my footing. I still didn't know who I was. I still didn't know how I wanted to come off to people or how I was coming off to people. I still felt like that people were reading me wrong and seeing the wrong thing instead of seeing who I truly thought of myself to be. And when I understood that people didn't know who I was, that's when I realized I didn't either. And so I had to start speaking more. I had to start diving deeper into my story. I had to start figuring out what really mattered to me and what was that legacy that I wanted to leave. Because again, back in the back of that ambulance truck, I realized my legacy was so incomplete that it honestly didn't even exist. I was leaving a legacy of struggle, of grind and hustle for my children. And basically the message was, no matter how hard I worked, it was never going to be enough. No matter what type of effort I put in, I was always going to be behind a payment, behind a bill, chasing this comfort that honestly did not exist, because if you're comfortable, you're not growing. And so I was under the impression that I was living life, but when my life was almost taken, I came to understand that I wasn't living at all, truly. And so I was living a facade. I had a front going on. People thought I was strong. People thought I was this. People thought I was that. But the truth of the matter is, I was not what people thought I was. I was not who people really thought I was. They thought I was very, he's bringing me food, but I'm like, dude, I'm in the middle of a video. Uh, what was I saying? Yeah, people thought I was strong. People thought I had it all together. People thought I had things figured out. And here I was thinking that I was being vocal about the fact that I didn't have it all figured out, so that when I finally was like, yo, I'm facing eviction right now while I'm on this medical leave, people are like, what? I thought you were doing well. And that's when I realized, not only was my message not really coming across, not only was I not showing up authentically, but I was also at the mercy of the algorithm. Does this make sense to you guys? Here we are in this online space, showing up sporadically, not consistently, not with a fully transparent, clear messaging, so that when we do show up, it is not the full narrative. Does that make sense? Like, people were seeing certain snippets because the algorithm was keeping me hidden. And so when I would have those little spurts of being consistent and then spurts of not being consistent, they were seeing the spurts of, I got my story, I know what I'm talking about. And then they were not seeing that things were not 100% all that fantastic. And so online, there was this facade, this mask that things were great, even when it was unintentional. And I want to ask you, how are you living? Is it with a facade, or are you being truthful? Are you owning your story? Are you owning your part in your life? Are you owning your decisions? Are you owning who it is that you truly are? And are you walking in that truth? Or are you at the mercy of the algorithm? Are you at the mercy of your inconsistencies? Are you at the mercy of people's perception of you? So, you want to talk about living authentically. You want to talk about showing up and being consistent. You want to talk about getting these clients and the type of clients that you want, or type of customers that you want, and yet your story isn't clear and it isn't authentic and it is a mask. So it's time to remove that mask. And the best way to do that, the best way to find your voice, the best way to show up is to show up. Do it consistently, do it clearly, use your voice, and the more you use it, the sharper it becomes, the clearer it becomes to not only you, but also to your audience. So if you want to learn how to do that, my student made this for me. If you want to learn how to do that, then I'm going to tell you right now, you are going to want to join my 5-day bootcamp called Monetize Your Messages, monetizeyourmessages.com. And it's going to send you a link to my Facebook group so that you guys can come on in and get ready, because October 1st, which is a Tuesday, but October 1st, the first day of the last quarter of the year, we're going to find your story and get a clear message for you to monetize. So you will walk away with a freemium, a list builder of some nature, and a clear story to tell that would impact and attract the audience that you are looking to bring into your vicinity, to bring into your circle, so that you have a clear, authentic message, and that you can learn what your voice is. And what we're going to do over those 5 days is definitely remove the facade. Let's dive deep and below the surface, and let's find out who we really are and how it is we want to show up. All right. So I hope you're going to join me for Monetize Your Messages with the S at the end.com, and let's go ahead and get very clear, get very vocal, and as always, be dope. See you in the Dope Ass Entrepreneurs Facebook group as soon as you hit that link. Bye now. Stay dope.